All right, so this is going to be, as it says up here now, the Band-Aid advice segment number 2, the second ever. The first one went pretty well. I have the VOD over on my YouTube channel if you haven't seen that yet. Just, helping people out with their situations, whether it be TF2 related, whether it be esports related, all these sorts of things. I've got my unique perspective that maybe I can lend some wisdom to people. I've got a couple people ready to come in, hopefully, that have agreed. They've applied through my Discord. I think they're pretty much ready to go. So why don't we see who we can pull in first? So I believe we had a couple people confirmed they were ready. Derb, Luigmis. I think those guys might be here. Bomb Brigade. Yeah, he says he doesn't want to go first. That's perfectly fine. So, and also maybe Jack. So we've got a few people that are ready. We'll see how long each of these take. So I guess we'll just probably have to, pick someone. I see Luigmis and Derbil, you're both ready to go. Let's see who applied first out of the two of you. I think it was Derbil. So Derbil, I think we'll probably pull you in first. So why don't you go ahead and join my Discord, and I'll drag you into a private voice channel if you're willing to go first, and then we can chat, and maybe I can give you some advice, just a different perspective. If you're good to go, then nice. Yeah, join up into the Discord. Hello, Circles. Thank you very much for the 8-month resub. What's going on? What's going on is this. It's labeled. People told me if I label what's happening on the stream, no one will ever ask me questions about what's happening. But I guess that's not true. Is a sub sound from Mother May I? Of course. Of course. Interesting and relatable topic. Yes. I'll just review the topic here a little bit, just to familiarize myself. But probably just have him explain it himself, to be honest. So let's go ahead and pull him in. Derbil. Derbil, hello.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm doing all right. A little bit nervous for it, but I'm looking forward to any advice I can get, because I think you'd have a really good perspective on some of the not problems, but just things I think about a lot when it comes to what I do.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll try my best. I understand being nervous. It's a bit of a different sort of environment, but I'm just gonna try and be here to help. Just trying to be supportive, be a friend, whatever. So hopefully we'll just get into a good groove and it'll feel natural. So I saw you wrote a pretty thorough explanation, some topics related to speedrunning, mentality, all that stuff. Could you just give us the background, give us a rundown of how you see your situation?
So the biggest thing that I think you would have a good perspective on is I've been speedrunning games. Well, I could give a bit of a history in my competitive nature, but it's I used to do some competitive sports when I was younger, mostly competitive gymnastics, actually. And I did it for a long time, for 10 or so years, but I never really wanted to be super good and win a bunch of things until my final 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I did all right. I didn't beat everything. I wanted to win my regional championship tournament, and I did pretty good in that. I got first in one event, but not in the all around. So, and in that time, a bit later, I started speedrunning in around 2017. I found a game called One Shot, which I really liked a lot. And I figured this isn't too long of a speedrun game, so I could probably get all right at this. But I was actually pretty intimidated by the idea of being super competitive and being under a time crunch and all that comes with speedrunning.
Mm-hmm.
But I started it off, and I actually did incredibly well, and I managed to work my way to the world record within 2 weeks.
Wow.
And it was honestly, in hindsight, I feel like it wasn't too hard, but in that moment, it was like a big achievement. So I was super happy with it to be the best.
Yeah.
And it was a pretty inactive speedrun game. So for a while, I was the number one. I was top for a really long time. And they just kept bringing the time down and down and down. And I hit a lot of milestones for the game.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, there was someone who beat me, who came not almost out of nowhere, but like pretty much out of nowhere and beat my time by quite a bit. And me and him went back and forth for a while, but eventually I did end up back on top. So I was the number one again for
Nice.
quite a long time. And I remained that way until about 5 or so months ago, to where the scene blew up a little bit. And now there's a ton more people, and I'm back to like 7th place or so. And that's like almost the best I can do. Because the game hasn't changed too much.
Mm-hmm.
It has changed a little bit to where like tactics that I used to be super good at just aren't a thing anymore. Like we used to have to mash through text like you do in a lot of speedrun games.
Yeah.
But the developers actually got rid of that because it was actually physically damaging, because you had to mash a ton. And I even complained about it a lot. Like it was literally damaging to just mash your keyboard that much. Like stuff like RSI and all that was a risk. So the community all agreed, and the developer added a button that automatically gets through skips through the text. So yeah, like some things that I was good at weren't available anymore. But
Okay.
ever since I lost the record, I've always wanted to get the top again, because after being on top for so long, it's like I'm still super hungry for it, and I definitely want it back. But I'm having like I'm having a bit of a hard time, like just not being the best, I guess, because I was really used to it for a long time, and now that I've been knocked down and I have to get way better, because the skill ceiling of the game is way higher now. Like people are way better. I'm trying to like find a way to just be complacent with where I am for now, and just being fine with like making small improvements rather than like getting upset with myself now that I can't do what I used to be able to do. Even though I'm way better than I used to be, of course, it's still like everything's compared to who's number one, and I still want to be number one, but I need to like find a better way to just find a healthier mentality to work up to that spot, basically, rather than just being upset with not being able to do it immediately.
Gotcha. Wow. Okay. Yeah, well, it sounds like you definitely have that competitive nature with your history in gymnastics, and then getting into speedrunning, and then yeah, it seems like that was very similar for me also. Like I used to do a lot of sports when I was a kid, and then I guess gaming ended up fulfilling that sort of need for me. But you got a taste of being the best really quickly, so maybe you have that expectation then that, you know, it should be that easy every time, you know, 2 weeks and then boom, you should be on top. So it sounds like because the sort of environment, the ecosystem has changed, you definitely might need to have a change of mentality. You said that, you know, you've been working more on like small incremental improvements. How has that been going for you?
I've been doing a lot better at it, because I used to there were like these tiny little time saves of like 1 second or 2 seconds, or like at most like 3 or a couple frames even, that I was so, because the game is very simple, so muscle memory is a huge part of it, and I didn't want to risk like changing anything up, or else I would like mess up my muscle memory.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to make those tiny little improvements, but I'm doing a much better job of just grinding out the parts that can save any amount of time, and because of that, I am getting more consistent. I haven't ran the game consistently in a while, but when I do run, I feel a lot more consistent with the newer strategies that are in place now. So I think it's just a matter of like just getting over my own mentality of not wanting to change, and just doing whatever I need to find any second, because the game currently, the speedrun is like 23 to 24 minutes, so it's really short, so every second really counts, and I just need to realize that and just grind out where any possible amount of time can be saved.
Well, you said you haven't been running it much lately. Why is that?
One reason that isn't directly my fault is mostly just I was on vacation for like 3 or so weeks, and that kind of cut off my streaming and stuff. Actually, I have a whole thing on streaming too, but
Yeah,
that's
we
a
can
side
get to
thing.
that.
But that's mostly just me having a really like that steps into a bit of a bigger problem too, where my focus shifts a lot. Like I've actually been focusing a lot more on like getting really good in TF2 now. Like I've been playing in your sub pugs here and there whenever they come up.
Yeah.
I've been playing in lobbies a lot in TF2 Center and all that. And I didn't do that like at all for like a while. I did those like back in like 2016, but my focus seems to like shift a lot between things. Like now I do a couple other speedruns too, where I also want to get really good at those, but for those I'm at least better at realizing that this game is incredibly hard. Like I got into A Hat in Time, which is an incredibly popular speedrun, and it's incredibly optimized. So I'm fine. It's easier to realize with games like that that I won't become incredibly good at the start because there's so much to it in like any other speed game. So I think you put it really well, actually. I hadn't really directly noticed how like me getting first place and getting so good in such a short amount of time has kind of made my expectations that way.
Yeah. So it also sounds like your attention is sort of split. You have other games that you're playing and you have your ambitions in those. So I wonder if maybe it's going to be hard to pursue that original goal if you're going to be tacking on all these other things. Maybe you need to be willing to just, I don't know, focus on one thing at a time if you want to become the best. So that's another aspect of expectations. If you're trying to do all these different things and you're trying to be the best at all of them, that might be very difficult and will only lead to disappointment. But if you focus in on one thing, you might be able to do that one thing a lot better. What do you think?
Yeah, well, definitely. I think I've actually there's something coming up soon that I could actually really I have an opportunity to just make no more excuses for myself, no more, oh, I want to play this or I want to speedrun that instead. We're currently, the community is organizing like a little tournament for the game coming up like later this month. So like I really want to like do well if not win that. So that's a really good opportunity to just put all the BS aside and just focus on one thing for a bit and just see how good I can really get if I actually put my mind to it.
Yeah, that sounds like a good opportunity to really buckle down and focus. I'm going to look up this game real quick. I've never actually seen it. It's called One Shot.
Yeah, One Shot. It's incredibly unorthodox speedrun because it's almost entirely story-based. There's very little like actual, like comparing it to like Mario 64 or Mario Sunshine or a more like prominent speed game is almost impossible because the movement in the game is incredibly simple. A lot of it basically comes down to how well you can do these incredibly basic and simple actions and how consistently, to where they're so easy, like but there's so many of them. It's just down to the milliseconds sometimes.
Yeah, that's how a lot of speedruns are, I guess. Damn. Yeah, I'm looking at it. It does look relatively simple, but and I'm seeing some of the mashing. So you're a really good masher?
Yeah, it's not at all in the game anymore because, like I said, the developers, we actually talk of them a lot in the speedrun server we have. They just added a button that automatically skips through text as fast as possible. I even like a little bit before that was removed, I had a really famous run in the community now where I had a lot of big mistakes where I lost around 10 seconds, which is pretty catastrophic for that time. But mashing was such a really non-consistent but consistent at the same time strategy to where different keyboards and stuff really affected it differently. Like I bought this like expensive $100 keyboard a little bit ago for like more precise like any game, but it's actually not nearly as good at mashing as my $20 wireless keyboard. So I had to use that keyboard instead to mash through text because it was much better for pressing buttons repeatedly.
Right.
So in that run I just talked about, I just decided, screw it, I don't care how much I mess up, I'm just going to go insane with mashing. And I ended up saving around 10-15 seconds over my old run and had a world record that stood for About like 6 months or so.
Wow.
And in like the 2.5, about 2 years I've been speedrunning this game, that's pretty huge.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
yeah, that strategy isn't in the game anymore, so I can't really like fall back onto that.
Yeah. That was your edge before, and now it's harder to find that for you, maybe?
Yeah, and it's also, I definitely don't want to rate it all off to that because people are also just way better at the game now. Like we have a
Mm-hmm.
lot more runners and a few people have been running it and they can just do some insane stuff in the game that I can never do. Like one of the biggest things that differentiates one run from another in the game is the final part of the game where there's this tile puzzle. The game is separated in tiles. You can only walk in one tile at a game at a time. Think of it like Pokemon, like the old ones.
Yep.
You have to walk on specific tiles, and it's essentially incredibly hard to do without like pausing here and there. And some people can run through those tile puzzles without stopping at all, but that's something I couldn't dream of. I could
Really?
never do that. It's
Why not?
I I just never had to practice it before, and that's honestly one of the things I still need to practice. It's
Yeah.
like I've worked on some other small improvements here and there, but it's so. I think the biggest excuse that I've used to not practice it is that since the run is pretty short, it's really intense the whole way through. Well,
Mm-hmm.
mostly, but especially at the end, to where if I get a really good run, it's okay. Well, it's really easy to reset basically because it's short. You don't have to restart like an hour of time. It's just
Right.
20 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's really, if a run isn't good, I reset it. Pretty much no exceptions.
Yeah, makes
So the
sense.
only runs that get to that ending segment that are really hard are really good runs. That's
Mm-hmm.
the only time I get there. So whenever I'm there, my heart is pounding, my mind is racing. I am only thinking, don't mess it up, don't mess it up, don't mess it up.
Yeah.
So I've kind of, the way I've looked at it so far is just, I'm so in such a different mentality when I'm actually there. Like it's so much more tense than just practice, to where practicing it almost isn't invalid, but it feels like a lot less worthwhile because I
Mm-hmm.
just can't emulate that feeling of intensity that I normally feel when I'm there in an actual run.
Yeah. So I don't yeah, I don't know a lot about this game or speedrunning, to be honest, but can I ask is it possible to just practice that section, or can you only do it, can you only reach it if you reach the end, like play
Oh,
through everything before it?
you can definitely practice it. It's
Okay.
honestly, I think by now I should just realize that just practicing it is much better because I've that part of the run is so like tense to where we almost read off muscle memory. The entire rest of the run is pretty simple enough to almost where you could theoretically speedrun it blind if you know the buttons well enough,
Mm-hmm.
like completely blind, as in like a blindfold on your face. So
Yeah.
muscle memory, I think, is the biggest part of that game.
Yeah.
Being able to just do those those incredibly simple inputs really quickly.
Okay.
And that last segment is technically the same thing. It's just a lot longer. So building muscle memory for it is a lot more difficult. But I
Yeah.
think it is definitely possible to where I
Yeah.
can do it without stopping much.
Okay. Well, I think that's an important shift because originally you were saying it would be impossible. Now you think, it is possible, but you just got to practice. So to me, it sounds like you just got to start practicing that section because that's clearly one of the big areas you could optimize. So,
Mm.
and another thing is, again, I'm not like big on speedrunning myself, so I don't know how this all works, but if the game's 20 some minutes, I feel like you could practice that a lot. You could just keep doing it over and over and over again. Within a few hours, you could already get in a few runs and you could start just getting, I don't know, familiar with the whole thing in context. I feel like that's a big part of probably what would help you is that it sounds like you don't have enough practice so that when you're there in the moment, you feel a lot of pressure. And again, I'd be curious to hear other speedrunners comment on it, but I feel like probably some of the best speedrunners are the people that have gotten over that they don't feel that pressure and they can just perform consistently no matter what, even if the run is
Mm.
going well.
Oh
Just
yeah.
because the repetition is so high. I mean, I feel that when I play TF2, like I always say the first time I did something, it was like really intense. I felt a lot of nerves, a lot of pressure. But once I did it more and more, it just became normal. So now, if I go and play a world championship grand finals on the stage, I can just keep cool, level headed, feel like it's just another day, because I've done it a few times. So I'm just used to that pressure by putting myself in that environment over and over again. So I feel like that might be something you just need to confront head on and just get comfortable with it. And like I said, since it's something you can practice and the runs aren't that long, to me it sounds like kind of the most straightforward way to get over that. What do you think?
Yeah, I was actually about to say, I was just thinking as you were saying it, like it's pretty similar to like going on a run through a tournament in like in TF2 or even like Smash or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the end of that run being so difficult and so like high intensity is like almost identical to the scenario of like being in grand finals or something.
Yeah.
It's yeah, a lot of what's holding me back now is just like my previous mentality in the game where I'm just too eager to reset. That's a big problem for me, especially. Like, I really, really am way too scared of the concept of like, let's say I mess up the first part of the run, but I don't reset, but then I have a perfect rest of the run, but that 1 second keeps me away from like a world record or a really special time, like getting a sub minute or something.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been way too scared of that, and because of that, I'm too eager to just reset to where I am incredibly good at the start of the game. Like the first like section or split of the game,
Yeah.
I am the second best in the world by a few milliseconds,
Nice.
like bar none. But the end part of the game, another guy, a few other players in the scene actually just destroy me. Like the last segment is called Tower. That's where all the tile puzzles are. I watch people do it, and I'm like, how the hell do you do this so well? Without even thinking about it.
Yeah.
Not that they don't think, like it's definitely difficult, but it's like it looks easy, but when I do it, it's just not theirs. So I think, yeah, I just need to bite the bullet and just doing no reset runs, which is basically just a run where no matter how many mistakes you make, you just don't reset just for the sake of practice. I need to just bite the bullet and do those a lot more often.
Yeah, I think that'd be good as well, for sure. So yeah, it sounds like you have like a pretty tangible like step to take. When's that tournament happening?
Right now it's planned. Matches can start on the February 1st. So
Okay.
that's
You got a
about
couple of weeks.
2 weeks or so. Yeah, so I
Yeah.
have ample time to practice up for it.
Okay. Yeah. What's your practice schedule like?
I actually don't have any kind of a schedule really. That's actually part of my whole streaming thing, but that's
Mm-hmm.
again a different thing. But right now, I just kind of like if I'm able to practice, most of the time I try to. Like I was much better at that last year. Actually, I haven't been much on it this year, but it's just like I start up the game and I say, okay, for 3 hours, I'm definitely going to be playing the game this much. I'm not gonna. I'm way too eager sometimes to just like, oh, this doesn't work, and I'll just do something else. But I'm starting to like realize a lot more that my mentality of wanting to be the best, but not being able to put into work, it's just basic. That's not going to work.
Yep.
That's just not how it is.
Yeah.
And I just need to bite the bullet on that. It's just a lot of me not being willing to just put up with things that annoy me, or like if I'm getting annoyed at the first segment of the game. Frankly, doing no reset runs and just playing the whole game through would be a bit refreshing, if anything, because I get way more tired of the game if I just do the same segment over and over and over again. That's just 1 minute long or so.
Yep. Yeah. Cool. So does that sound like a reasonable approach you could take that might help you out?
Yeah, I'm probably starting like Sunday or so. I am going, my classes start up again on Tuesday because I've been on winter break from college, but
Mm-hmm.
that shouldn't interfere at all with me like streaming or playing the game because all my classes are in the morning and stuff. So that's all fine. But
Nice.
yeah, because tomorrow I'm going to be, well, actually, I could talk about that after, but starting like Sunday, I'm definitely going to be able to like stream and play the game so I could just I can have some people there because our whole one shot speedrunning scene is we're all super cool. It's small, but small to the sense that like we all know each other really well, and we're all really like supportive of getting the game faster and helping each other out. So I could just have a few folks there and just like tell me to absolutely not reset even when I really want to, just so I can get used to the whole run again.
Yeah, sounds like a good idea. It's actually really relatable for me as well because with like doing music, like learning a guitar solo or a song or something, um, I did the same thing a lot where I would constantly reset to the very beginning when I would be trying to learn a guitar solo or something, and I had the exact same mentality that like I didn't want to waste getting the end perfect if I had already messed up before, but I realized that just repeating the whole thing and just getting comfortable playing it from front to end is really the best approach in my opinion. That being said, during like practice, there's kind of two phases, I guess, is how I'd see it. Is you sort of do like a focused practice on one, like in a music context, it'd be like a little lick or a little riff, like one part of it. You learn it at a slow speed, and then you bring it up to speed. Then you string them all together. Then you play it all together. So it's all part of practice. I guess that's maybe what you need to sort of shift your mentality on, is that maybe in your mentality you've always thought if I'm playing the whole game that's a run, but maybe you should think of it more as that's still part of practice, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I've always been like almost all my playtime in the game is just running. I've only recently have I ever just sat down and practiced a part of the run on
Okay.
its own, which is very different from like many other speed games. But with this one, it's just like a lot of the inputs are so simple. It's easy to convince yourself that you don't need to practice one part or another because it's just, come on, just do this, just press those buttons in this order. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's actually incredibly similar to what you described with the guitar there. It's just not being afraid of having a not perfect run.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
Oh, nothing.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so definitely sounds like that mentality and that approach to practice is going to be the place for you to start. So does that sound like a tangible, step that's relatively straightforward that you can take to, pursue your goal then?
Yeah, definitely. Just getting ready to hunker down and just grind out a few runs in a row. It won't even be that bad because, like I said, I'm used to my runs of the game just being the same segment over and over and over until I get it perfect. And then I just do that one run and it might mess up somewhere. And then I do it back over and over and over. So just actually grinding it out might even just be way more, not entertaining, but like funner to get through.
Yeah, more sustainable. Taking a different approach can often, bring new inspiration and, just a fresh start, kind of more energy, all that kind of stuff. So it can have other benefits too, for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so that are you satisfied with that side of things then?
Yeah, that side of things is helped me make just cemented it in my head a lot more because I always had like thoughts like I always joke about, okay, this one's going to be no resets. So I was kind of like aware that my problems might be there, but never actually like following through with them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's pretty much all there is to say on my speedrunning side of things for the most part,
Okay.
anyway.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I wish you good luck with the upcoming tournament, and let us know how that goes.
Thank
And
you.
I hope to see you making more progress. Eventually, get back on top. I think you can do it. You obviously have done it before, which is always good proof that you can do it again. So
Yeah,
just
definitely.
stick at it, and I'm sure you'll have great results.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what's the next part? You said something about streaming, perhaps. Do you still want to go into that?
Yeah, definitely. So
Okay, sure.
I've been streaming for exactly about as long as I've been running the game, one shot, because well actually the main reason was because recording full runs took up a lot of space on my hard drive. So I figured streaming on Twitch is actually better for that because it doesn't take up space. I can just submit like a highlight of that to like
Yeah.
the speedrun boards. But I just got in the habit of doing that and I started to like streaming a lot.
Cool.
Originally, my streams were just like I put the game on the middle, I put a timer on the left, that's it. I didn't talk during it. My mic was off. It was just the game audio, timer, game itself, and that's it. But over time, I started to like branch out into streaming more things. Like I started to stream TF2 a lot.
Cool.
It's incredibly fun. I streamed other speedruns that I learned, had fun with other people. And eventually, like about 5 or so months ago, I tested out streaming with just my own voice, actually narrating my stream.
Mm-hmm.
So I went like almost 2 years without using my voice at all. But once
Wow.
I got used to it, I realized how much more fun it can be to easily interact with chat.
Yeah.
Because I always like did my best to interact with chat, just like typing in there, but it's not easy, especially during speed runs, and it just feels way more connected, and it feels like I'm having like it feels a lot more natural than I thought it would be. Like I've always had some anxieties about like just social anxieties in general, just talking. So I
Yeah.
always feared like talking on stream and feeling like it would be too awkward or something, but I found it not nearly as hard as I think to just talk about what I'm doing, even when no one's in chat at all. I could just casually talk about Team Fortress 2 or the
Mm-hmm.
speedrun I'm doing or how it's going and all that. So that's been a lot more fun for streams. And
Okay.
I've kept it to be really fun so far I definitely don't do it for like wanting to go into it as a full-time career.
Okay.
I think it'd be really fun, but mostly my mentality on it right now is I just stream games whenever I'm playing. And if people want to like support me or sub or anything, that's awesome. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like I never want to make myself, at least for the time being. I think it could definitely be fun, maybe if it happens to work well. But right now, I'm perfectly cool. Just I stream whenever I want. I don't have a consistent. Well, I kind of had a schedule, but not really. I'd mostly just stream around the same time. But whenever I stream it, I just say something on Twitter, go live on Discord, all that, and that's it. So it's really casual for me. But
Okay.
the way that I could actually well, the main quote unquote problem I have right now is it's gotten me into a lot of things behind production, like production for like streams, video game streams, especially like esports is something that I want to go into.
Okay.
And actually tomorrow is going to be my biggest thing for that, where my local melee scene, they're hosting a pretty huge tournament and they didn't have someone to run the stream. And I just told them, well, I can use OBS really well. I stream on my own all the time. And I just said I could do that. So I'm going to be running that tomorrow.
Nice.
Which, when I actually think about it logically, it shouldn't be too hard because updating a Smash stream isn't too difficult. All I really need to do is update the names of the players, their scores, and like switch the cams here and there. But I do have some anxieties about it. But that's definitely like the best stepping stone I could do right now. Is just actually working with other groups and like organizations to run their streams, do production and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, yeah, it sounds like you're already taking a big step, so that's great. Um, what's like, yeah, I'm still kind of not sure what's your question, because everything you just described sounds really good so far. And
Yeah.
a lot of it's really relatable too, like you're saying you thought you were more sort of like maybe introverted or whatever, and then you kind of got in your comfort zone. I went through the exact same thing with streaming. Is like yeah, I thought I was really shy, but then, I get on stream, I'm playing my favorite game, things just start flowing, you open up a bit, you get in your comfort zone, and then, you can be the most confident guy in the room. And I even saw people at the start when you came on saying that they were complimenting your voice, so I'm surprised that you
I'm glad people
had
like
your
it.
voice hidden for so long. But yeah, I think it's good. It can be a good source of building your confidence for sure. Some people don't see that out of streaming.
Yeah, I have always had like social anxieties when it comes to talking to folks, but after like streaming for a bit, this is actually just a recommendation for anyone who has a similar problem. If you're streaming like a game like you really love, like if you're streaming TF2 or if I'm streaming like One Shot or also TF2, it's way easier than it seems to just talk passively. And it's way better, but it's really good for just building confidence in your own ability to produce words. because that's honestly the biggest problem I've always had when it comes to just communicating. I've always just felt like I can't think of words in conversations. I feel like I might stutter all the time or something like that, but it's helped a lot in that regard.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've heard other people say even like taking an improv class would be a great step for improving your ability to kind of think on your feet. So there's a lot of just like different environments you can put yourself in to like force you out of your comfort zone and to sort of just learn these skills, I guess. And streaming is definitely one of those environments for sure.
Yeah, and the big actually question that I or problem that I have when it comes to these things kind of merges both speedrunning and streaming, where
Okay.
I'm still really good at one shot, and I'm confident, like say submitting it to an event like GDQ or any other speedrunning marathon going on. But I still have a lot of anxieties when it comes to commentating those kind of things, because when a runner is up there, it's a combination of playing the game but also talking about and explaining exactly what's going on, like what the tricks are, like particularly like explaining like the tech behind the tricks and all that, or
Mm-hmm.
like all that. And I actually a little less than a year ago, I submitted one shot with a friend Lori to a marathon, and we were both co-commentating because we're racing it together, but at the same time we're both commentating at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And there were a couple of moments where she basically carried me in the commentary really hard. Like I was almost not silent, but pretty much not explaining anything because I just was completely frozen up. I was just playing the game, and I was even messing up a couple things because I was just so caught up in like, oh man, what do I say? What do I say? That at
Yeah.
one point, even her streaming software messed up, so she was offline. So there was just a straight minute of nobody speaking at all during this live marathon run for charity. It wasn't like a massive thing. There was like 100 or so people watching, but it was like,
Yeah. I could see how that,
yeah,
you might feel some pressure there, but it's not a big deal. A minute of
yeah,
silence, like I
yeah,
think you might
no,
be kind of overthinking that to some extent. It was I think it's a good experience. You definitely put yourself out there and that kind of thing, and now you know what you need to work on for next time, right?
yeah, I've definitely owned up to it, or not owned up to it, but like I've made a
Thank
lot more
you for
peace
the
with it.
resub.
Like at the
Yeah, yeah.
time after, I was like, oh, that was terrible. But now I'm just like, yeah, no one really is like noticing or even caring at all in the end.
Yeah. It's another thing you also have to kind of just accept if you're on stream. There's gonna be weird things you do. You're gonna be awkward at times. You just gotta, brush that off, be yourself, and just be confident really that you're just being yourself. You don't have any malice or bad intentions or whatever. You're just trying to have a good time and share the games that you enjoy with other people. Like other people try to
Mm.
bring you down or like make you overthink all this, but I think you'll find that you're going to be way better off if you can not get involved in all that and just do your own thing. Really.
Yeah, I've actually been pretty lucky in that I've never really had anyone like try to bring me down or anything. I've actually really fortunate to people who do like support my like streams or my speedruns or in that speedrun community. They're all super supportive.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I've always heard that about the community is that they're very tight knit. Very supportive, and through events like GDQ and stuff. They all come together, and even if it's completely different games, they still support each other and yeah, all that kind of stuff. So um,
mm,
I think speedrunning is actually a pretty interesting community in that regard. There's a lot of speedrunners of some of the most obscure games of all time that have really
yeah.
built like really tight knit communities and built up their fan base and all that kind of stuff. So there's definitely potential out there for that kind of stuff too.
hmm So the biggest thing I'm trying to like, I when my stream is like relatively small right now. Like I get like at most around 5 or so viewers, but I'm comfortable with that because it's just not many people. But I'm
Hmm.
trying to find a way to just become a lot more comfortable when a lot more people are watching me. Because if I'm like not even really just like on a stage, because if I'm actually planning to submit one shot to a pretty big event, Pace 2020. It's pretty huge speedrunning event in like New Jersey that I have a pretty good chance of getting into.
Nice.
But I'm still really nervous about that because I trying to figure out how to like keep my composure when a lot of people are watching me. It's actually something that I was thinking about a lot today, coming onto this of all things,
Yeah.
because there's like 200, 300 or so people watching right now while I'm just talking about whatever the heck, and I'm pretty smooth at it now. Like at first I was like, oh man, I gotta be like, I gotta have all my hands on deck. I gotta know exactly what to say. But getting into it, it's a lot more like easy to just go with the flow than it seems. And that's what I'm also trying to do when it comes to like explaining my speed game and stuff in front of like a crowd of people, or like if I'm doing it for an online marathon, having like 500,000 people on stream or something.
Yeah. Yeah,
Just
you're
being able to
right.
commentate.
You're definitely, taking another step in that direction. It's definitely more than 5 people listening, and
Yeah.
if it goes out to YouTube, it'll probably be more than that too. So, and I think you're handling it very well, to be honest. You haven't had minutes of silence. You've just been flowing.
No.
You've been comfortable. So, I think, you definitely, can handle it. But just keep practicing that kind of stuff for sure. If there are smaller speedrun events that you can, get involved with, that could be good. Maybe even organize your own. I've seen speedrunners that do like their own like community race or something, or they race their friend, and maybe that could be an opportunity to just do runs of the commentary type stuff, where you just explain it live to your stream and all that.
Yeah, that actually reminded me. We had another tournament, our whole one shot community, a while back in like 2017 or 2018, I think. But I didn't want to commentate at all. I was still the top runner at the time, but I didn't want to commentate because I was scared of it. But I'm making sure that this tournament that comes up, I will in fact commentate some runs. That's the same thing I said for coming onto this, because I saw the first b4kend-Aid session and I'm like, that's pretty cool. No way I could do that. But then I thought about it more, and the submissions were open, and then I was able to submit, and I'm just like, I think this would be a really good thing to just buckle down on. Just submit it. Don't delete it. Don't back out. Just no matter what happens, I'll show up on that. I'll be
Yeah.
on stream and I'll talk fine. I'll be essentially the same thing, actually, funnily enough, when it comes to my speedrunning. I just need to give up like anxieties about messing up runs or having a good start or a bad start, but a good end. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
getting over those things and just running right into it. Cause I mean, I've done pretty well, I think, when
Yeah,
I
I
just
think
go
so.
into those things.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, looking back on it, I opened up the applications to get on, and you submitted like really early. So, I think you're kind of overstating that you had any of this doubt or whatever. You should be proud, that you took these
Yeah.
steps and you committed. Yeah, I think it's really great. So, good job.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks. And I definitely, if anyone has similar problems, I definitely recommend, if there's another one of these, definitely recommend submitting. It's a lot more like fun and casual than it seems. Because originally I was like, I mean, I don't know why I really had anxieties about it now. It's just like I'm just talking to a dude
Yeah,
who's just here to listen.
that's what I'm going for. One other thing that I would mention is, I think people are also, pretty understanding, at least, the people that matter. So if you are feeling nervous or whatever, and you think it is going to affect you, if you just, during your commentary or whatever, and you just mention it, don't make a big deal out of it. Just say, I'm still learning how to commentate well, so bear with me or whatever. I'll do my best. I think people will be pretty forgiving and understanding.
Yeah.
So yeah, it doesn't have to be a big deal. I guess that's what I'm saying. I think just taking the steps and working on your skills and practicing and putting yourself out there, you're going to make huge strides, and you can't hold yourself back because you're, worried about what other people are going to think or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's definitely my biggest thing. Like, I don't want to look dumb or look like I don't know what I'm doing or freeze up. But ultimately, in all my experiences, people have always just been nice. And even if people aren't, I've actually had like a couple of things on my stream where people come in and say stuff. But I've been pretty good at just handling situations that go south. So, despite the fact that almost everyone has always been super supportive, and like I even saw in the other like b4kend-Aid sessions, people were like just coming out in troves, saying nice things, like, you go get them, do it, and all that. People are just generally pretty nice. Even when they aren't, I find myself to do all right to just
Thank you, Jack. 10
handle
gifted
it and
subs.
just
Thank you.
not let it affect me as much as I think it would always will.
Yeah. Whenever we look back on those things, it always looks silly when we're just overthinking it and all that, for sure.
Yeah, even right now, I mean, I don't know why I was so afraid of just talking. I've done it all my life, and talking to
That's
this
true.
guy is no different than anyone else.
That's true. Yeah. Awesome. So, you've got potentially you're going to be applying to get into these speedrunning events. I definitely think you should do that. But I think it would be great for you to maybe, again, just start practicing the commentary stuff if that's something that you want to improve on. Your stream is the perfect place to do that. But maybe, if you want to start simulating sort of that more high pressure environment, make an event out of it. It can be a small event, but just say, hey, other one-shot streamers, anyone want to have like a race day or something like that? And we'll just make a community thing. And that can be a perfect opportunity to get even more experience and to refine, your process.
Yeah, I could definitely see that happening. They're all super like friendly and eager to have fun together. Just because like running racing stuff together, like competing in a tournament, we're all just like comfortable enough just chatting casually to where it's not even like a super I gotta win. It's just we're speed running. We're trying to win, of course, but at the end of the day, we're just trying to have a good time commentating, speed running, streaming, whatever. And most people recognize that pretty well and are just really supportive.
Yep. Awesome. So sounds good. Sounds like you've got some good steps to take for your practice and also for your speedrunning commentary. Is there any other topics that you wanted to hit on maybe in the streaming? I guess we didn't explore that much besides the commentary side of it, or any other topics?
Nothing else for other things, but streaming, I think there are some things, but it's kind of weird because right now my mentality for streaming is still just like I stream whenever I want. If people want to watch, that's cool. So like,
yeah.
Well, I'm not currently aiming for it to become a much bigger stream. I think I do know some of the steps I could take, but I don't think I know that well, really. Because I do definitely want to become a bigger streamer. No one doesn't when they stream.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like I'm not doubling down on it is my big thing.
Yeah.
So
So let me ask you a couple of questions then. Or actually, finish what you were going to say, and then I'll ask.
I honestly wasn't gonna. I was just gonna think of more stuff to say, but
okay. So
yeah,
let me ask you: do you have a presence on YouTube?
Most of my presence on YouTube is me either uploading streams that I want, like full streams, but most of it is just VODs of my speedruns. But I actually was thinking the other night of making some videos on some TF2 stuff, but I'm not sure how well that would go because I'm not too good at video editing. But
well, best thing you can do is just try and learn as you go, honestly. But I feel like a speed run, there's a lot of opportunity there to create content about like guides,
oh yeah,
or just talk about maybe some of the history. You have history in the community. You created this record at one point, and so people may be curious to hear your take on things about anything in the community.
yeah.
You can establish yourself as the go-to guy for the game, and that could, definitely increase your viewers. I don't know how many people watch the game or who the biggest streamers are or whatever, but if there's a community, I'm sure there's people that will find that stuff and come to your streams.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Then one other thing I was going to say is being consistent with your streams, and like you said, you're starting to talk more and interact. That's always good. You're looking to getting a face cam that can get more viewers in your stream.
Oh yeah.
All those sort of things are pretty like basic, easy steps you can take to see some pretty tangible growth.
Yeah, it's just being more like just people liking to be there just for the sake of like hearing what I want to say or just enjoying my personality in general. That's the main thing I
Yeah.
like because I'm not inconsistent with what I stream, but I stream like a bunch of different things. Like I stream this speed game or that speed game, but
Yeah.
actually once I do start practicing a lot more, I think it might become a lot more consistent because I'll just be practicing a single game.
Mm-hmm.
But I still might like if I like do like a 3 or 4 hour session of the game, then I might just want to play TF2 or stuff after. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And then one other thing, I briefly spoke to Trihex at TwitchCon. He's a speedrunner, pretty,
Oh
prominent
yeah.
one. And he told a story about what he did to see massive growth. He he was mainly streaming, I think it was Yoshi's Island or something.
Oh yeah, that's what he
And
runs.
then yeah, and then Mario Maker came out, and it's a a sort of a parallel similar game, and he just went really hard in that game, and it brought him a lot of attention and views and all that, and really skyrocketed his stream.
Hmm.
And so that could be another option. I imagine there's other games that are maybe similar to One Shot, maybe more come out in the future. Just always keep your eyes out for that, because sometimes if you're established, you're the go-to guy for your game, a similar game comes out, you can easily check it out. You don't have to go like hard in it necessarily, but if you really want that Twitch growth, if you really want to make waves, then those are definitely the opportunities you're going to want to look for.
Hmm.
And I mean, I've had experience with all this stuff. Like Overwatch would be an obvious one for me, but I had
Oh
my
yeah.
reasons not to. But my advice to other people is to not necessarily follow my path. Get out of your own way. Just try it, go for it, and you never know what will happen. To be honest.
Yeah, it's a really it's not like a random field, but it's just like sometimes growth just pops in and you're just super
Yeah,
big now because you made one right decision.
yeah, and
Stream this game or that game.
the best thing to do is just be prepared. There's definitely an element of luck, no doubt about it. But if you're prepared to capitalize on it, whenever that comes along, you're going to improve
Mm.
your chances for that kind of thing. I mean, I'm actually in a very similar position right now, because all the stuff I was telling you to do is a lot of stuff I need to do. Why don't I have a lot of TF2 guides? Why don't I have a lot of insightful TF2 content? Because I could be establishing myself much more prominently as a TF2 figure, community figure, or even bigger than TF2, like a class-based shooter expert type thing. You know what I mean? So if some
Yeah.
new class-based shooter comes out, I could check it out, get some people that want my opinion on it, all that kind of stuff. You can build that all on your own. You don't really need anyone else to give you permission or to validate you. If you build it, you can create your own sort of credibility, to be honest. So, something to think
Yeah.
about.
Especially for like building like guides and stuff. Because I've actually already like there are some guides in the community and stuff, but no like one single go-to resource. It's all like kind of separated.
Yeah.
And I mean I'm not the best runner anymore, but I maybe know more about speedrunning the game than anyone in the world.
Well,
I'm already incredibly credible on that, so I think like putting out a guide and just one video, 30 something minutes, because explaining the speed run is actually incredibly easy, but there's a lot of like tiny little things here or there. Like we've had a lot of people come into the scene who just don't know one thing that completely changes how the run is ran, and you lose a ton of time, and it's
yeah.
really easy to miss. So just making guides or something is actually really possible for me. Like it's best definitely like again, like I'm not a great video editor, but I know how to put things together and like Premiere. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sometimes, just a simple video can do the job. If you, ever need it, you could also look to work with experienced video editors that could maybe, be hired to do that kind of thing too.
oh
But
yeah.
yeah, there's always a solution for those kinds of things. So just have a mindset of just being committed to following through, and I'm sure you can come up with a solution. Or you can always just ask, and people can remind you that there are ways forward.
Yeah. Hmm.
Cool. So, does that, I think, cover pretty much everything that you had on your mind then?
Yeah, that's pretty much everything I had to think of. Hmm.
Cool. All right. So, yeah, I guess we got a few like tangible, straightforward steps for you. Um, can you just tell me back, like, what's your plan going forward then in the next few weeks, months, whatever?
So, coming in first and foremost, tomorrow I need to just be on my A game, make sure I run the stream pretty well, maybe even commentate the stream if I wanna, because that's actually also a pretty great opportunity to do that well.
Yeah.
Then immediately after Sunday, Monday even, or Monday, Sunday even, um, start speedrunning one shot again. Actually, don't reset on the first split over and over. Don't reset whenever I see one thing wrong. Just get used to the whole run. Practice the end split a lot more, and then just follow through when it comes to submitting like speedruns to big events and stuff. Because I could easily see myself like just having like one day of doubt and just pulling out and just not doing it. But I just need to, like I did with this, just stay committed to it. I submit my run, gets accepted, sweet. If not, whatever, keep going, submit to more events. Just need to, most of it's just, I know what I should do, I know what I need to do, but I need to actually double down if I want to become the best in this, best in one shot. If I want to become a bigger streamer, become a better commentator, all that, need to double down on what I, yes, getting rid of my own anxieties and laziness, especially.
Yeah. Yeah, it does sound like kind of a lot. So, just at least take one of the steps and you'll already be better off. And it can be an ongoing process and all that. But yeah, it sounds like you kind of got a good idea, good understanding of where to go. And so I think we can probably leave it at that. So thank
Yeah.
you for coming in here and talking through all that. And I
Thank
wish you
you
the
for the
best of
talk.
luck.
Thank you. All right. See you.
All right. All right. See ya. Cool. So that was Derb. He has an interesting situation with the speedrunning thing. But I think even though it's not my background, I think we were able to find some nice parallels and common ground to send him on the right path. So now I think we have time for one more person maybe to come on in. I think the first two who we had on board were Derbil and then Luigmas. Luigmas, are you still here? Are you around? Are you ready to go? He is here. Awesome. So please go ahead in the Discord, just join the voice channel, and then I'll pull you down into the private channel and we can chat. All right, I see ya. Let's do it. Hello.
Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good. And yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing great. First, real quick, is it Luigmas? How is it?
Usually I go Luigimus.
Luigmas. Okay.
I've only had one person ever get it right first try, and the worst I've gotten is Linguinimus. I have no idea how they got that.
All right. Yeah, I when I saw it, I was like Luigi Christmas. That's my guess.
I had a very specific memory of I think they were called the creatures or something, and I remember seeing they named like a Luigi amiibo Luigimus, but it was actually Luigimus. And I just named myself after that, and it's a misspelling the whole time. I just stuck with it.
Okay, cool.
Unique enough.
Yeah, it's definitely unique. Cool. Okay, sorry about that. The alert has ended. So,
all right.
Thankfully, we were just getting started. So, why don't you tell me about your situation? It looks like you're mostly looking for some TF2 advice.
Yeah, I am. I originally thought I'm gonna ask a bunch of mechanical questions, and I realized I can just look at VODs and pick up like that intrinsically, just studying that kind of thing. But it's a lot of team leadership because I've played the game for quite a while at this point, around 5,000, 6,000 hours.
Okay.
But I've not played that much competitive, Like the best I've ever done is the PanTF meme tourney. So I've
Oh yeah.
not played much of the real thing.
Okay.
And every time I have started up, I've tried to lead and try to pick up, newer players to have fun with. And
Okay.
this is the first season I've tried to take things seriously.
Nice. So you guys are in RGL then?
Yeah, we're in RGL. We had our first match. There were some hiccups. We lost the first one. It's a weird first match. I don't know, but we
Yeah.
learned from it.
Yep, that's important. Okay. So you're trying to, make your way as the team leader, trying to establish your team, get more involved with competitive. What's your main question and or problem?
The main question is probably, I have questions for non-team leader things, but the main team leader thing is like how to build that coordination and like fight through the tilt. Because
Yeah.
like sometimes it just one thing goes wrong and it just domino effects. And
Mhm.
everyone is just buffers, respawns, and it just all goes to hell.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, things can get out of control pretty quickly. So my advice always starting out is make sure everyone on your team is on the same page in terms of their expectations from the team and, the team culture and all that kind of stuff. So for example, if half your players really want to win, half your players really just want to have fun and be friends, you're going to have some problems there. In my opinion, the best mindset you want to get everyone on your team on, especially in your first season, is going to be. There's an echo, by the way, on your mic. Do you think you'd be able to?
I'll turn you down. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. The best mentality for a new team is we are here for experience and to learn, and then you can decide. You could also choose just to have fun, but I think that's the best thing. You don't want to worry about winning necessarily. Obviously, that's a long-term goal, but for a lot of teams, the absolute best thing they could get out of it is just surviving the season, because so many teams start out, they reach their first turbulence, and then they just crumble. And so it's just players constantly recycling through that season after season. If you can just keep the team alive for the whole season, as the team leader, you can be the guy that says, I'm going to keep this team alive no matter what. If people quit, if people cause problems, we're not going to let that stop us. We're going to get players that are on the same page. We're going to replace them. Whatever I have to do, I'm the team leader. That's my responsibility. This team will never die as long as, we're committed to the season. If the season ends, you can change that. But once you're committed, you're the team leader. You're going to keep the team alive. That's your side of things. And then the other side is getting everyone on the same page. So do you feel like right now your team has that, that uniting sort of philosophy, that same culture about wanting to keep the team alive, wanting to learn? How do you see it?
I would say most of us definitely do. There's I'm not really sure sometimes. I know a group of 4 stays back for every map review, every demo review after we scrim and whatnot, and just a group that plays together. And then there's 2 others who don't often make it or are often subbed out or don't show up to the demo reviews that much. And it's kind of hard approaching that because I understand college just started up again, another big semester, and people have their own stuff to deal with. But it's also at the same time, I have a really hard time approaching that, saying are you good? Do we need to talk about or make arrangements? It's getting past that barrier.
Yeah, for sure. There certainly are situations where people may not be available to stay up all night and do demo reviews and all that, but I think that it's a bad sign if they never show up. What I think would be best is coordinate around their schedule. Then, if they're the ones that have trouble making it, put sort of the pressure on them. You tell us when you're available, then you're absolutely going to be there, and we'll schedule it around you. That way, they don't have any way out. It's kind of like a commitment.
Right.
I think that could work. It's something I do often is scheduling things in advance instead of having it be like spontaneous, like, oh, we just played a scrim and now we want to do a demo review that people weren't expecting. Some people may have had other plans. People may, just not be mentally prepared for it. But if it's scheduled, I think you can avoid a lot of that and get people to sort of give you their word. And that also, I think it's good as the team leader to sort of be someone who keeps everyone else on the team honest and like holds them to their word as well, makes them hold up their end of the bargain as being a teammate and a team member, and being able to call out people if they're not fulfilling that. Like, bro, you just promised you'd be here and now you're not here. What the fuck is going on? Or, something like that. As much as you want the team to be, fun and friendly, again, this may not line up with your goals or whatever, or your team culture, but if your goal is to improve and to get better and to take things more seriously, then you got to start, treating your teammates or holding them up to that standard, I guess,
Yeah. With the scheduling thing, I did initially set up a system because I don't really like accepting the scrims like scrim tonight 9:30 when like people are offline online, because we're like first season team. It's not going to be all downloaded yet. So I set up a system where it's like scrim this time, some in the next coming days, and they react with their emote. But it's a good idea. I should like collect everyone's information on scheduling, just put it in a Word document and try to find, okay, these are the best spots. A thing I didn't do is I should just put a time block to do demo reviews. I've heard it's like you want to do it straight after the match while everything's wired, because you'll pick up on things that you knew happened.
Yeah, well, it's fresh. That can be a good time. But conversely, it could also be, people are heated or whatever. They may not be thinking clearly. But I generally do like to do it within a day or two, for sure.
In a day or two, okay.
Yeah, right after is great, though. I've had many nights where, we play a match, we expect to win, we lose, and then, the whole team is just there for the rest of the night discussing it. That definitely happens. But, yeah, sometimes people have to go. It's just being a little bit flexible around that, but, yeah. So you do try to, or you think you might want to try having like a better understanding of people's schedule and all that. What I was suggesting is just like literally the people that never show up, you just ask them, okay, when can you do a demo review, and then hold them accountable to that. It doesn't have to be necessarily like a weekly thing, but there's a lot of different approaches you can take, and they're all valid, whatever works for your team, for sure.
Yeah, man, hope they're not watching. I slipped them that message.
Yeah.
I don't think they are. I think that pretty much covers most team-based things, because mechanics, I can look at VODs and look at other points of advice that aren't like, I don't need to use your time right now for something that's like easy answers.
Yeah, okay.
Personally, I have some issues where I just crumble. Like MGE's fine, like I'll get through that. But say I go to a mid fight or any kind of 1v1 with like another scout, because I play flank scout, and my immediate reaction is, this man is better than me. I am going to die.
Right.
And it doesn't matter. Like I always like tap F. Oh, how many kills? Oh, they have 10,000 kills. I'm screwed.
Okay.
It's always like a self-confidence issue, and it's hard building that.
Yeah. Okay. So you mainly, you feel like you lack self-confidence, especially in 1v1s, and as a result, it makes you play worse or not take certain like risks that you otherwise would, maybe?
Definitely.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. So to tackle that, it's relatable. Even like to this day, there are players where it's just like, do I really even want to risk taking that 1v1? So maybe I avoid it. Just play it safe. There's nothing wrong with doing that. I mean, thinking back, like there were always players like that. Like Clockwork was a legendary scout. I would try to avoid taking those 1v1s unless I was like forced into it. And a lot of times those players, they want you to take those 1v1s. That's what they want. So actually avoiding those 1v1s is going to put them out of their comfort zone. So that is one thing to consider. But you definitely, there's nothing wrong with avoiding 1v1s, first of all. So sometimes you may be, just making the right choice to avoid them, but there are probably situations where you had the advantage or you had a reasonable opening to go for it and take that risk that you aren't taking with that, is going to limit your returns. So those are the ones that you want to start focusing in on then. So the best way to approach that, so it's good that you've identified it. You say you do some MGE, so you feel like practicing MGE maybe doesn't translate well. What is it about MGE?
I think MGE, I don't know. The longer I play MGE, it's like I start out decent and then it just gets worse, but then it like comes back up. I have no idea what it is. It's a thing of its own. I've been MGing with my scout. He was actually in the previous Band-Aid segment.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was What Must I Do? He's in the
Okay.
chat.
Yep. Cool.
And Jack is also on the team, so.
Oh really? You guys are all okay.
Yeah, we're all on the same team.
Oh, that's cool.
Funny.
Nice.
We all ask the same questions.
Well, that's a good sign. So it sounds like you guys all want to improve. So.
Yeah.
That's pretty nice.
In terms of like 1v1s, that's actually a great analogy when it comes to poker as well. Because if someone's better than you want to beat them. Like if they're obviously better than you can't skill them off. You just try to like get them into a situation where they have no options, where it's just RNG. It's just a flip for them, and if they lose, they can't do anything. And if you make them go into a harder position, or to where there's more variables, where other people they have to fight, that's a huge advantage. And definitely a load off your heart if you have issues.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I don't know anything about poker, but it's very interesting how there's always like parallels to other, endeavors in life, to gaming. Yeah. So you practice with your teammate. That was one thing I was gonna suggest if you weren't doing it, because a lot of times people don't like playing like public MGE. So having a more controlled environment against a teammate is a really good way to also remove a lot of the unnecessary, like, just baggage to MGE. A lot of people think that, you got to win all the time, you got to like beat certain players. But if it's your teammate, at least for me, it's a lot easier to just sort of like use it as practice, because you want to see your teammates do well. You guys are both on the same page about improvement, instead of just having some like, ego thing going on,
Yeah.
So that's definitely a good thing to keep doing. Keep practicing with your teammate. Perhaps there may be other practice partners you could find, that maybe some of those people that you have that fear of 1v1ing, maybe you could, befriend them or reach out to them, whatever, and just ask them, inquire, would you MGE me? Something like that. Maybe if you compliment them a bit, they might be willing, like, hey man, you've been really formidable. It'd be great to practice against you, or something like that. I don't know, might help butter them up a bit. But that often is just going to be one of those situations where it's like, you just got to confront it. You got to get comfortable. And when you build your confidence in general, or if you just don't, as a player, if you don't rely so much on those 1v1s, on that kind of stuff, it just becomes sort of like natural. What I mean is by that is like, if you're playing the game properly, you're playing more based on decision making and positioning and coordination, and not so much on depending on hitting your shots, then whoever you're playing against, it becomes irrelevant. Like whether it's this person or that person, like the name is irrelevant. It's a scout who's overextended, or something like that. And that might also help you to detach some of that baggage that you have associated with these individual players that give you trouble, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. I hadn't thought to reach out to other teams. It kind of feels like busting into a community you don't belong to, but yeah, I'm sure they'd be down.
Yeah, I
Because
mean,
they like to get skill
some
out of that as well.
some people might be, some people might not, but you never know unless you ask. I certainly um, used to do that a lot. Nowadays, I mostly just play my teammates, but um, there was a time where there's kind of like a little circle of people that would just ask to MG, and we'd all be up for it. And it was no big deal. It's good.
Yeah, I certainly didn't come here with uh, an hour of content.
Oh, that's fine. Whatever
Uh,
whatever you have, I just want to make sure we address it. So, um, did you have other aspects of that to explore?
um, I like wrote up a notepad,
Okay.
and then it didn't save,
Oh, that
and
sucks.
then I choked writing the rest of the notepad, trying to remember everything. I did have one kind of offhand question.
Okay.
It could have already been covered, but if there's one thing with leadership that you'd say to look out for that hasn't already been mentioned, what would you say?
Okay. Um, I would say another thing to look out for is sort of like dangerous like clicks and toxicity behind your teammates' backs. Something I've noticed a lot is the teams where the team felt very divided, where there were like three people that would always go off into a private channel and talk to each other, and three people that would be excluded, or there were people using like whispers in Mumble, or people would stream and then they'd be like shit talking their teammates while streaming, or they would like, if you had like a rival team, they would go like only hang out with the rival team and shit talk you guys behind your back, just all that kind of stuff. I think it really breeds a bad environment for teammates. So just be very cautious about that. I think a lot of people find this kind of like unintuitive, but like the character of your teammates matters. Even though it's a video game, even though, you're just trying to win at a video game, it's not just about your skill at the game. There's another layer to it. If you want to have a good team, the best teams I've ever been on, it's like, brotherhood type thing. Everyone's like really good friends, and I mean, they don't necessarily have to be good friends, but they have to have a certain level of respect for each other. That's what you need. So that's something to always look out for. You're a beginner team. You guys are just starting out. You should not expect to have that mastered on your first season. Your approach long term should be, just get that experience, sort of learn how this whole thing works. Maybe you see some people that do align with you very well. You build a core of players. You have that core move season to season to season. Maybe people come and go around that, but you have that unifying core that everyone's sort of attached to, that builds around. And eventually you get 6 people that are all on the same page, and it's amazing.
I I can't wait for the day that's got to be a great feeling.
Yeah, it's
6 people on the same
my
page.
favorite thing ever.
And toxicity, what a topic.
Yeah.
Oh boy. It sucks. It exists, but like there's no end all solution for it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Um,
tough. And there's a lot of different situations. If there's anything in particular you wanted to check about, I know it can be a bit tricky since, maybe they're listening or whatever. But yeah, let me
I
know.
wouldn't. There was like some ringers I don't like. I have a bit of a stigma against certain ringers, and I hate like if you go to RGL chat and you go to ringers list, they don't put their level because I don't want to get carried in a scrim.
Right.
Like I'm down to learn that valuable information, but most of them like flood the voice comments. Oh, he took 100. Ah, it's like I can't hear myself think. None of us
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
We're not getting help, and like sometimes they're just toxic. And I ended up like apologizing to different team leaders. Like, look, sorry, dude, I'm not gonna have him on again.
Yeah. You may just
Uh,
have to learn all the different ringers at that level and sort of, yeah, get an idea of who fits well. Maybe if you find one that's good, you bring them on to your team as like a backup or something. That could be good. Um, But another thing is, if you bring a ringer in, just like tell them what you expect of them. Like if you want them to not talk, just say, hey, we have our comms situation already figured out. Just, cap the points and don't speak, please. That kind of thing.
I wish I had that energy, man. Say, don't speak.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean,
I've had ringers. I sort of dominate when I come in as a ringer, and people usually don't call me out on it, but I'm sure that I've been disruptive to people's team dynamics by coming in and suddenly I've got like this super, like, just decisive main calling style and like all this, and they might be a bit more loose or more chill, whatever, or they have like their pocket soldier prefers to call, but then suddenly I come in as like the combo scout, and it's like, whoa, this whole thing has changed. So, yeah, it's something that the team leader should probably, inform the ringer about, because you're posting a ringer, call out there, and you're like, this is what I need you to do. Are you going to do it or not? So they're kind of at your mercy in a way. They do what you want them to do. Otherwise, you don't get them to ring. That's kind of how I see it.
Yeah, end of the day, like, it's your team. You have that authority, even if they're better than you. It's like,
Yeah, exactly.
you're the guest here, man. Come on.
Yeah. Your priority should be making sure your practice is worthwhile and beneficial to your team. So that should always be the priority there.
And before I forget, I did want to touch on main calling a bit, because we had a big old scuffle.
Okay.
Not really a scuffle, just a bunch of people wanting to main call. First it was our pocket soldier, and then it was our pocket scout. I don't know if it's standard, because I'm team leader in the way I own the RGL team, I own the Discord. And outside of that, I'm a team member. Is it proper for the team leader to also be the team leader in terms of main calling?
I think that's not necessary by any means. It's fine if, the team leader is just the guy who, organizes things, make sure everyone's on the same page, sort of from the managerial sort of perspective. And then in-game, shot calling moment to moment, the main caller is someone else. I think it's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not comfortable on flank calling everything, because I can't see some things sometimes.
Yeah, I think even like that, the role also sort of doesn't mesh. On my team, I personally I really like to have a lot of control, so I am the team leader, in game and out, I suppose, and I like that personally. It works for us, but that's not necessarily going to work for every team.
For sure.
All right.
Well,
do you think that, is there anything else? Any other aspects of team leadership you want to go over?
Just open up the Word document here. Now, I think that's pretty good, because the other, it's just a lot of mechanical, like, it seems like we get forced quite a bit, and that's most of our Ubers. And when we actually Uber into last, so to speak, like say we got them to the last, we Uber in.
Mm-hmm.
If we win, we win not because we won the push most of the time. It's because we won from like their incompetency.
Right.
They lost to a gimmick. Someone went spy, decloaked.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Okay. I don't. It's hard as the flank scout to know, because sometimes I'm not there for the Uber all the time.
Yeah.
In more of non-last push scenarios. And our demo kind of dies. Who do we Uber? I mean, imagine that's really situational.
It can be situational for sure, but assuming you can get a sort of like planned Uber, with everyone alive, everyone in position, and the other team set up, pretty standard situation. Generally, I'd say, a two-man Uber with a scout and then a soldier, or a scout and a demo, is usually pretty safe. If there's a sentry, maybe the demo's better. If they're holding really close and you're just trying to blast them, soldier. It can vary, but that's kind of the baseline. I definitely think that there's so many situational factors that it probably would be best if you wanted my input on those things to maybe have like a demo review session or something like that, or you can just ask me about different situations just through normal like chat sort of stream situations.
Right.
I don't think that we can cover those
Yeah, it's
properly
not the
here.
place.
Yeah. There's just a lot of information that I would need that I don't think you could explain
Yeah.
right now. That's all.
I think like the general gist is just get a plan, get positioning, and get to that positioning quickly.
Yeah.
And
I think that's
execute the plan.
That's really important too, just for your team in general, is defining everyone's role so they have expectations. They've seen all these situations before. They know exactly what is expected of them. That's one of the other most important foundations to build the team on, is defined roles, in my opinion. Some teams are much more loose, but I've just had so much success defining people's roles. That way it just flows because you know what to expect from your teammates, and things just go really well.
All right. Well, I think that about covers. Like, I didn't come here with an hour of content, but 30 will do.
Yeah, that will do. If you're satisfied, that is. So just I guess to review then, a lot of situations with your team, it'd be best to reach out to maybe some of the people that are having trouble with scheduling, make sure they get on the same page, and then just in general, some tips about things to look out for with your what kind of players and ringers and behavior you want to allow and what you don't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, if you could just kind of tell me what are some of the first steps you want to do or take to improve your team situation.
All right. Step 1. Go through everyone, get their schedule list, and we concoct a list that I can look at and be, all right, these are the good times, these are the bad times, and these are the times we'd have most people in. I want to try to get a team that is like about even level that we can scrim. I'm still looking for that.
Mm-hmm.
But like I feel like the best training ground. You don't want to be cracking strats and officials. Brand new, off the roller.
Yeah.
Let's see, put that together.
Oh yeah, there was also the concern about like the 1v1s and stuff.
Yeah, the 1v1s. Let's get some more not MVM. That's not gonna help at all. MGE action. I have too many tours in 2 cities, man. It's like half of my hours.
Nice.
Oh, it sucks. I get like some more MG partners, MG more with my team. We've been doing 2v2s, which has been kind of fun.
Oh yeah, that can
rather
be fun.
than just like raw scout DM.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. And build that confidence. Like, don't take 1v1s all the time unless it's a good situation.
Yeah, it's just about not necessarily don't take 1v1s, but just take smart fights and don't limit yourself from taking a fight just because you know someone's good. To be honest, that's the point you want to get to.
Yeah, because especially if you die 3 times to him, it's like, oh, this is just gonna kill me. Better run away. It's like, no, you have that or whatever. Fight him.
Yep, exactly. That is exactly the mentality you want. Cool. Awesome. So, I guess are you satisfied then? You got a few steps to take?
I'll just I'll probably regret not asking something, but I'll just ask in a stream or whatever.
Yeah. There will always be future opportunities, and I would be open to checking out a demo if you guys have a good scrim or match.
Okay.
You can hit me up anytime, in the next week or 2 or whatever, and I'd be happy to check it out.
I don't know if the chat's ready for some open demos.
Well, I think you'd be surprised. A lot of people really enjoy seeing that kind of stuff because there's usually a lot more to say, so they can learn from it.
Very true.
Yeah.
I think I'm satisfied. Thanks for having me on, man.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for coming on. It's been a pleasure. All right, good luck with your team.
All right, cheers.
All right, see ya. Cool. So that is Luigimas looking for some advice about TF2, mainly some personal, confidence situation with his 1v1, and then also just team leadership stuff. Some of my favorite stuff. I definitely pride myself on team leadership. I think, my team has been very successful in large part due to the consistency that I bring through team leadership. So something I'm pretty confident to speak on, and the results, I'm sure, speak for themselves too. But yeah, I'm happy with that. It was good. I think we'll probably just keep it there with those two guests. I think they both did a great job, and it sounds like they both have some pretty concrete steps to take. So yeah, we'll just keep it there. I'm sure more people will come in and apply. We already have a few others in the Discord looking to get in on one of these advice segments. We'll get to them eventually. I appreciate your patience because, we try to give everyone enough time to really speak and, get some advice instead of just rattling them off. Maybe someday we'll do like rapid fire type advice. I think a lot of the TF2 like specific stuff, there might not be a lot to go into, but I'll try to help as much as I can. And thank you guys for hanging out during the b4nd-Aid segment. We'll keep this a recurring event. If people want to see it, let me know. And yeah, we'll leave it at that for tonight.